This is J. Krishnamurti's first public talk in New Delhi, 1972.
I wonder what I should talk about. Because there are so many things. Is this working? Right? There are so many things that we have to talk over together. Like meditation, death, love, pleasure, fear, and the whole concept of following somebody. We're going to talk over together the whole problem of existence. And to do that, we must first establish our relationship with each other. You with the speaker, and I with you. Relationship implies communication. And communication means thinking over together sharing together, listening to each other, creating together. That is real meaning of communication, sharing. Not that you listen and I speak. Either you agree or disagree, but rather together we are going to explore into the question and to the many problems that one has. So, from the very beginning, we must be very clear what we are trying to do. You're not following the speaker. I am not your guru. I abhor all gurus. To follow somebody is to destroy not only yourself, but also the reality. So, that being very clear that I am not your guru, but that we are together going to explore into the questions that we have to face every day. First, one must observe what is going on. Not only outwardly, but also inwardly. To observe clearly, objectively, sanely. And to do that, you must look without prejudice, without any conclusion, without any formula or concept. Otherwise you cannot possibly explore, investigate. And that's what we are going to do. It's only the free mind that can explore, not a mind that has already come to a conclusion. It's a free mind that can observe, not a mind that's clouded with prejudices, with conclusions, with tradition. And so we are together going to observe what is going on outwardly first. The violence, the brutality, the wars, the various religions with their philosophies, with their saviors, with their gods, which are dividing people as nationalities do, the rich and the poor, the various racial, communal, sectarian divisions, the 1,000 gurus that seem to know what they are talking about but really don't, and the innumerable politicians. Politics is the science of government, and when it is in the hands of corrupt people, then politics becomes dirty. And this is what is happening around us. Violence, wars, division, the various fragmentation of human beings in their activities outwardly as well as inwardly. That's an obvious fact. And another obvious fact is neither the politicians, nor the economists, nor the business people, nor the so-called gurus with their priests and all the rest of that nonsense have ever solved any of our problems. And again, that's a fact. And when we are confronted with all this insanity, this immorality, not only outwardly and inwardly, this dishonesty, hypocrisy, the inevitable question arises, what is one to do? What are you as a human being living in this appalling, insane world? The world is very beautiful, the land, the sky, the rivers, the trees, and the marvelous mountains, they're lovely. But we are talking about the human beings in their relationship with each other. We have created this world, and we are responsible for this world. So we are the world, and the world is us. And that's a fact. The cultures in which we have been brought up has divided us. As Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, and all the rest of the divisions that go on. And when you sanely, healthily observed all this, one either revolts against it, wanting, joining a group of those who are physically want to bring about a physical revolution, or you revolt against the establishment, or you revolt, you are against your particular religious culture and join another religious culture, which is exactly the same. You might be Christians, and then you come to this country and become a Hindu. How ridiculous it all is. As though you can find reality in any religion. And seeing this, observing it, having an insight into it, what is a human being like you and me or another to do? Because every action, political, religious, business, scientific, produces more confusion, more disorder, more legislation, and innumerable conflicts, not only outwardly, but inwardly. And this is a fact. It is not my opinion or my judgment against your opinion or your judgment. These are daily, everyday facts that are taking place around us. Now, how do you observe this? Please bear in mind what we are trying to do. We are trying to investigate together. You're not just listening to the speaker, agreeing or disagreeing with him. We are journeying together, sharing together. So it is your responsibility as well as the speakers that we clarify the things very clearly. And in that clarification, you and I share. Which means that you listen. And listen with tremendous care and seriousness. Because this is not an entertainment, a religious form of amusement. This is a very, very serious matter. Therefore, you have to give your serious attention, which means you are sharing. We are journeying together, hand in hand, to exploring and to find out for ourselves what the truth is, not according to somebody else. So, how do you observe this whole phenomenon around you? Do you observe it intellectually only, verbally, dividing yourself from that which you observe? Or do you observe without any conclusion, without any judgment, without condemning or rationalizing, but to merely observe. Then you are intimately in contact with it. Then there is no division between you and the world. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Look, you're sitting there, and unfortunately I'm sitting on a platform. I'm sitting in a platform because it's convenient so that you can see. But that doesn't give any authority. But in your mind, the speaker, you have created an image about the speaker. And so that image prevents you from actually observing, listening, finding out what the speaker is saying. You're following all this? So if you want to find out what the speaker is saying, you have to be free of the image which you have created about him, so that you can listen with attention, with care, with tremendous affection, not to what is the speaker is saying, but to what is happening about you and to what is happening inside you. So, it's very important to find out how you observe the world. Whether you observe it with a mind that has come to certain conclusions about the world outside you, with a mind that judges, evaluates, condemns, or being free of judgment, evaluation, rationalization, condemnation, whether you can look at the world with such a mind. That is, as you are now listening, can you observe the world about you, the horrors that are going on, the violence, the brutality, the racial, national divisions, the fragmentations, and their subsequent activities which are contradictory? Can you look at all that dispassionately, with eyes that are very clear to look? And your eyes cannot see clearly if there is any form of opinion, conclusion. Right? Are you doing it now as we are speaking? Otherwise you can't share. Otherwise you can't take the journey together. That is, unless you are terribly serious, you cannot possibly explore and find out the action that will be total. So it also matters very much how you listen. First of all, find out whether you are capable of listening. Now, most of us listen to words and the meaning of those words, and we think we have listened. That is, verbal communication appears or seems or gives you the impression that you have understood. You understand? That is, when you listen intellectually, that is verbally, to a series of sentences or ideas and expressions, whether they are verbal expressions or gestures, then you think you have understood. Understanding is not intellectual only. Understanding takes place when you give your whole attention. Attention being your mind, your heart, your nerves. With that attention you listen. At the same time, at the same level, with the same intensity. Otherwise you can't listen. You understand all this? I hope you do. Because we have a lot of things to talk over together. And you must take the journey together all the time. Not drop off when it suits you. That's not being serious. When you hear something that you don't like, you have to find out. Not just say, well, I'm going out. It doesn't interest me. You're a human being. Your problems are the problems of everybody else in the world. And you just can't be slack and say, it's not my business. The house is on fire. And we have set that house on fire, each one of us. And it's our responsibility to put that fire out and build a house that will never burn again. So what we are talking about is a very serious matter. It's not an entertainment. Intellectual, emotional, sentimental, or so-called religious experiences. We'll come to that later. But first, you and I must be very clear what we are about. So if that is clear, that we are not only verbally communicating with each other, but also communicating at much deeper level. Verbal communication is necessary. Because otherwise you are sitting there, am I sitting up here, has no value. But we must go beyond the word. But to go beyond the word, you must understand the whole structure and the meaning of thought, which is the word. Are you following all this? What we are concerned with is how to bring about a radical revolution in the world. Not physical revolution, because that has not solved a thing. Throwing bombs, destroying the present structure of society by replacing a new form of society by men and women who are corrupt will not solve the problem. So physical revolution has no meaning anymore. But what has meaning and significance is a psychological revolution. A revolution in consciousness. You understand? In your mind, in your heart, not out there. Because what you think, what you feel, you create, you bring about the present condition in the world. So the only revolution is psychological revolution. And that's absolutely necessary. Not the other. We've had physical revolutions before. And look what have happened. What has happened? Bureaucracy has come into prominence and they hold dictatorship and so on, so on, so on. Less freedom. So our question is, seeing what the world is, which each one of us has created, and we cannot escape from this. You can't withdraw into a mountain or into a cave or into a small community. You have to face this tremendous chaos in the world. And you are responsible for it. I do not know if you realize it. And when you are responsible for something, you care for it. When you are responsible for your children, you care for them, don't you? You see that they have food, clothes, shelter, education, love. And it's your responsibility to bring about this psychological revolution. So, the content of consciousness is consciousness. You understand that? What your mind contains is your consciousness. What it actually contains, not what it is supposed to contain. Your consciousness is made up of its content. If there is no content, there is no consciousness. Right? Please see the logic of it first, the rationality of it. If one is born in this country, brought up in a particular culture of this country, the content of your mind is the culture, modified, changed, diminished, but it is the result of that culture. You are born in the West. You are the result of that culture. You may revolt against it. But when you revolt, you replace it by another series of reactions. And therefore those reactions are the content of your consciousness. Are we following each other? So consciousness, the quality of your mind and your heart, is its content. And the problem then is how to bring about a radical revolution in the content. Look, one is born in this country, a Hindu, a Brahmin or non-Brahmin, with all the traditions, superstitions, prejudices, hopes, fears, his beliefs in God, innumerable gods or one God, the vast traditions that have been accumulated through centuries. His mind contains all this, consciously or unconsciously. If you're born in Europe, you're a Catholic or Protestant, with all the images, with all the superstition, myths of saviors, hell, heaven, sin, original sin, all that. And the reaction to that is non-belief, which is the content of your consciousness. The German against the Russian against the... and so on. Please watch your own mind. Watch your own thoughts, your own state of your consciousness now as you are listening. I'm only describing. The description is not the described. You understand? What I am describing is not what is described, which is the content of your consciousness, the actual content. So, description is never the described. The word is not the thing. And when the thing is being described, through the description, watch the thing that is being described, which is what is going on in your mind. Otherwise, there is no communication between you and me. Then you are merely listening to a series of ideas, agreeing or disagreeing. But if you are watching through the description, and knowing the description is not what you are watching, then we can journey together. Then we can sit together. So the problem is, the content of the mind has to undergo a revolution, a change, total change. Because that mind has produced this world. The world outside you is the result of what you think, what you feel, and your activities. And your feelings, your activities, your fears, your pleasures, your anxieties, your demand for security has produced the outward chaos. And to bring about a change in the world outside you, you must change. Right? So the next thing is, if you have understood that you have created the world and you are the world, there is no division between you and the world. And to radically transform yourself is to transform the world. If that is very clear, it is not my opinion, my judgment. This is a fact, as factual as this microphone. Then the problem arises, what is the pattern to which we must change to? You understand? What is the norm, the structure, the morality that we must change to? You understand? See what takes place when you have a norm, a pattern to which you must change. Then you are not changing at all, right? Because you have projected that norm, that pattern, out of your fear, out of your pleasure, out of your anxiety, out of your desire to be secure, and so on. So the pattern which you have created, you project and you conform to that. And therefore there is no change at all. Are you following on this? You understand? I want to change radically. And to change radically implies no pattern at all. Because any pattern, either projected by another or by you, is the reaction to the pattern which you have. Right? So, a mind that demands, a mind that sees the truth that a radical psychological revolution is necessary, has no pattern. The present chaos, confusion in the world exists because it has patterns. The Christian pattern, the Hindu pattern, the mode of, and so on. All projected by human beings in their confusion, in their anxiety, in their fear, in their pleasure. And if you who desire, if you say that is necessary, radical revolution, psychological, then out of that you will also project another pattern. Therefore you are following as a reaction the old pattern. I hope you understand all this. And the same thing with regard to method. You know, we'll go into that when we come to the question of meditation, which is really a marvelous thing to meditate. But you don't know a thing about it. Because you have learnt it from somebody else. Or learnt it from a book. Or gone to some guru and he has told you how to meditate, what to meditate, gives you a mantra or some stupid thing. That's not meditation. Meditation is something enormous, tremendously serious thing, not a plaything for immature people. They can play. They can play with words, calling it meditation. But it's not meditation. Meditation comes with the flowering of the understanding of daily living, not away from it. Now, how is this change to take place? You're following all this very carefully? Please do. I've come from a long way. And you also have come from afar or near. You have taken the trouble. So please listen with your heart, with your mind, and share together this enormous problem of living. As we said, any projection of a structure by a mind that is still conditioned its projection will be conditioned, right? And to change according to a method is no change at all. Right? If you change according to a method, you become mechanical. That's what has happened to you. You have become mechanical. A second-hand people. Because you are following somebody, some philosopher, some psychologist, some guru. You haven't looked at it all. So you put away from your mind altogether the idea of pattern, a method. If you do, then you are free to look. Then you are free to find out how to live, constantly inquiring, and have constantly learning. Right? I hope you're all working as hard as the speaker is working. If you are not sharing. You see, thought has created these problems. Thought. Shall I go into it? Will you follow me a little bit? You know, the whole of Greek Greece culture of ancient Greece, is based on measurement. You follow this? And that culture exploded over the West. That's a fact. And measurement became very important. And through measurement, the whole technological Western industrialization is based on measurement. That is, thought is measure. Do you understand? All our civilizations, all our cultures, including their gods, their saviors, is based on thought, which is to measure. Measurement implies comparison, imitation, conformity, and therefore mechanical. Right? Observe it in yourself and you will see. I don't read books. None of philosophical, religious, scientific books. But I've observed a great deal, watched, listened to scientists, philosophers, to the great intellectuals. And when you listen with care and attention, you find out the truth of things. So a mind hasn't to collect a lot of information and knowledge. So, measurement became important. You see that? And India, this country, ancient India, exploded all over Asia. And they said, measurement is illusion. Measurement implies time. Please listen to this carefully. Measurement is thought. Measurement is time. And they said, we must go beyond measurement to find the immeasurable. But they use thought to find the immeasurable. They said you must control thought. You must suppress thought. And they invented this division between the highest and the lowest. As the Christians, through their thought, invented the division between the soul and the body, the Hindus also did the same. All the product of thought. Their Atman, their super-consciousness, their Jivatman, higher and higher and higher, is the product of thinking. So the whole culture of the world is based on thought. It's an extraordinary thing to find out. The myths of Christianity, the myths of Hinduism, or it doesn't matter which religion, is the outcome of thought. Myths have held people together. The Christian myth has held people together. But now it's breaking up and they're going away. The Indian myth has held the Hindus together or the Muslims together. So, the culture, the religion, the morality, the conduct, behavior is based on thought. Right? Not my conviction. It's not my conclusion. It's a fact. There is a difference between conclusion and a fact. You can observe a fact and draw a conclusion from your observation. So, the fact and conclusion are two different things. What we are talking all the time is not conclusions, theories, speculations, but only facts. If you know the fact, then you can deal with it. You can't live on theories. You can't live on a theory about food. You have to have food. So we are not speculating, theorizing, philosophizing. You know what the word philosophy means? The love of truth. The love of truth in daily life. Not some speculative truth of some philosopher. So, when you see this, that all culture, all myths, all gods, whether Muslim, Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, is based on thinking, on thought. It is thought that divides. Thought that says, you and me. You, the Christian, the Buddhist, the Hindu, the Muslim. And me, who am not any of these. You following? So, thought divides. Thought does not bring people together. The function of thought is to divide people, to bring about division. Please observe this in yourself. For God's sake, you're not merely listening to the speaker, but watching yourself through the words which the speaker is using. Because we're not doing propaganda. We're not asking you to join any group. For God's sake, don't join a thing. Don't belong to any person. Follow anybody. But observe, listen, try to find out the truth. And to find out the truth, you must observe facts, not your opinions and judgments and conclusions, not what other people have said, but only facts. And only then you have the energy to go beyond the fact. So thought is the factor of division, both outwardly and inwardly. Have you noticed that in you there is the thinker and the thought? There is the thinker who says, I must not do this. There is the thinker who wishes to change his thoughts. There is the thinker who controls thoughts. So, thought is the factor of division in yourself and in the world. So we have to find out what is thinking. Because that's what we all do. When you come to India, I don't know why you come to India, but that's your affair. You have come through thought, thinking that there is something mysterious in this country, some new kind of religion, new kind of meditation, new kind of experience. So you come trooping here based on your thinking. So you have to find out what is the whole structure and the meaning of thinking. Because that is what is dividing people and bringing about fragmentation in your life. You know what I mean by fragmentation? The artist, the scientist, the businessman, the politician, the housewife, the gods, the gurus. Fragmentation, broken up. And one fragment takes the authority to order the other fragments. The one authority is called the Atman, or the soul, the higher will, higher consciousness. That takes charge of the other fragments. But the bigger fragment is still a fragment. You're following all this? Come on, sir. And on that, our whole endeavor, our whole ways of life, religious and so on, is based. Unless there is a radical change at the very root of our consciousness, there will be no change at all. That is, thought is the response of memory. Right? If you have no memory, you have no thought. Memory is experience, knowledge, stored up in the brain cells. So thought is matter. No. And that thought is conducting, shaping, dividing our life. Because thought is the response of the past. Right? Your memory is of the past. You may project from the past through the present to the future, but it is still the past. So, thought is time. So the question is, We live in the past. Our minds function in the past. That is, our mind is the content, is its consciousness, which is the past. If you observe, we are always contriving, thinking, remembering, imagining, which is all the response of the past, projected into the future through the present, right? If you see this very clearly, that you are a Sikh or a Muslim or a Hindu or some politician, that you are the result of your tradition, that of your culture, which is based on thinking and therefore dividing people, then the problem arises. What is the function of thought? You following? If thought is doing all these destructive, harmful things, as well as most extraordinary things, like going to the moon is the product of thought. All the extraordinary medicines, acupuncture, all these things are the results of thought. They are marvelous, and we need thinking. But there is also the tremendous danger of thought, which has divided, hurt, and brought about wars between people. So what place has thought in human relationship? Are you getting tired? Shall I go on? I am asking the questions you should be asking. What place has thought in relationship? Because relationship is the most important thing in life. If you are not related, you are not living. Relationship means action. And so one asks, what place has thought in all my relationship, in your relationships? What place has thought in your relationship between you and your wife, you and your girl, boy, or whatever it is? What place has thought? Because thought divides. Right? I'll show it in a minute. Relationship implies a timeless actuality between two people. Come on, sir. Which is love, isn't it? Relationship implies a timeless movement between two people. And thought divides people. You have an image about your wife or your boyfriend or girlfriend. You have an image. And he has an image about you. That image is created by thought. Right? So thought divides. Haven't you got an image about your friend? Haven't you? Be honest. And that friend has an image about you. And these two images have relationship. You understand? And you call that relationship. So that image has been put together either in 2 days or 10 years by thought. So one asks, what place has thought in relationship? Has it any place? And if it has no place, then why does thought come in all the time? You're following all this? Why is the mind always creating images in relationship? And therefore dividing people. So why does it come at all in relationship? So one has to go into the question. I don't know what time. What time is it? What's up? We have talked for an hour and a quarter. You know, what is important is to be earnest. You cannot be earnest if you have not energy. Not the energy of the frivolous. Most people are frivolous. And therefore they are dissipating their energy. And in dissipation of that energy, they try various kinds of disciplines and more confusion. What we are talking about demands your total energy of attention. Because we are investigating into the whole human consciousness, your consciousness, your mind, not somebody else's mind, or investigating your mind according to some philosopher or psychologist. They need investigation also. So, one observes in life, wherever one goes, this strange phenomenon of the whole of our culture is based on thought. And thought inevitably divides people. It is the origin of all fragmentation. And we are fragmented human beings. You think one thing, say something else, do something else. You are fragmented when you exercise your will, opposing or demanding. That's a fragmentation. When you resist or when you acquiesce, that's a fragmentation. When you say, I don't know, you know, please tell me, that's a fragmentation. We are, as we are, human beings, fragmented, broken up. And thought tries to bring about integration between all the fragments. And when it can't, it invents a superego. You're following all this? Which is also the product of thought. So our whole human structure of behavior, relationship, political, religious, business, art, is all based on this fragmentation. So we are asking, is there an action which is not the outcome of fragmentation? Because if you can find that out for yourself, you will have answered all the questions. And we are pointing out that this fragmentation takes place when you give prominence to thought. And all of you do. Thinking to you is the most important thing. And you don't see that thought can never be free. Because thought is the result of the past, is the reaction of the past. Thought can never discover anything new or come upon anything new. And yet, thought is always trying to find out something new. That's why all of you are here in this country, trying to find something new. New according to what you want it to be new, which is according to your thinking. And you see also that in all relationship, thought divides. So what place has thought at all? What place has thought in relationship, in action? You understand? Relationship and action. If action is the outcome of thought, such action must be contradictory and divisive. So is there an action which is not the outcome of thought? Though thought is absolutely necessary. Otherwise you can't go home. Otherwise you and I won't be able to speak English or whatever the language you and I speak. Knowledge is absolutely necessary. So experience also. So what place has experience, knowledge, memory, and thought, which is the reaction of all that? What place has it in relationship, and what is action without thought? Is there an action which is so total, complete, and therefore non-fragmentary, non-contradictory? To find that out, one has to go into the whole structure of thinking deeply. You can't say, well, I will shut out thought. I will control thought. I will suppress thought. Then who is it that is suppressing, controlling thought? It is still thought. You understand all this? When the meditator says, I am going to meditate, the meditator is thought. Therefore he says, I must control thought. You see the game he's playing? A stupid, childish game. And in this game we all indulge. So, we're going to find out what place has thought in relationship. And if it has no place, what happens in relationship? Because we can't exist isolated. Life is a relationship. Life is the movement in that relationship. And to find out how to live daily, please listen to this with your heart. Please do listen to it. Give your attention to this. How to live a life every day of relationship in which thought, with its dividing force, doesn't exist. Then, what is relationship? You follow? That is relationship a matter of images, or is relationship the ending of all images? If you have a conclusion and I haven't any, what is our relationship? We have none, have we? You understand? If you say I am a Hindu, or a Sikh, or some stupid division like that, and you say, I'm neither Hindu nor Christian nor Buddhist nor any religion, I don't have except a passport. What is my relationship to you? I haven't any. You're following? So, the man who has an image, a conclusion, a conditioning, has no relationship to the one who has none of these things. He divides and you don't divide. And for you not to divide, you have to find out whether you can live without a single image, without a single symbol in your life. That means a mind that has so many images, so many ideas, prejudices, a mind that's so heavily conditioned, Can that mind uncondition itself instantly, not tomorrow? Can a mind that is violent, when most human beings are violent, can a mind that is violent drop its violence instantly? If it doesn't drop it immediately and has an ideal of non-violence, which is there in time, during that time he achieves non-violence, he is being violent. You're following all this? So the idealist who says, I am practicing non-violence, he's a hypocrite. You admit all this? What is factual is violence, not his ideal of becoming non-violent. Right? So, the fact is violent. The fact is that thought divides. The fact is our minds are burdened with 1,000 images. And can the mind put all that aside and to do that you have to find out what it means to observe, what it means to look, what it means to listen. If you look with eyes that are prejudiced, you are not seeing. If you have any conclusion, you are not observing. If you are chattering, you are not listening. Or if you are comparing what is being said to what you have already read or thought about, you are not listening. So, can you observe the activity of thought? Please listen to this. The activity of thought without the thinker. Without the observer who says, I have heard thought is divisive, thought has its place, and thought is also destructive. Can you observe without the observer who has learned, who is the past? You understand? The observer is the past, is knowledge, is time, is the thinker, with all his conclusions, opinions, judgments. Now, can you observe your whole movement of thought without the observer? Can you look at your friend or your wife or husband without the image? Then when you look without the image, without a conclusion, then you will find that your relationship with another is totally altered. Then you can observe more clearly the fact. Then you are not wasting energy through the eyes of the past. You have the energy to observe the fact. And when you have the energy, which is not dissipated, that energy changes completely the fact. We'll go into all that perhaps tomorrow. Do you want to ask any questions? Repeat. Just a minute, sir. Just sit down, sir. That gentleman has not listened at all. He's full of his question. Wait a minute, sir. I'll tell you in a minute. To ask questions is very important. Not only of the speaker, of everybody. Ask your questions of your guru. Doubt him. Ask the questions of your Upanishads, Gita. Doubt it. You must question everything. But you must also know when to question and what questions to put. It's like doubt. Doubt is excellent. But also, you must know when to keep it on the leash and when to let it go. But if you are doubting, there is nothing. So you must know when to hold doubt on the leash and when to let it go. And also you must know the question you are asking, why you are asking, and who is asking the question. If it is the right question, you will get the right answer. If you are asking the wrong question, there is no answer. So when you ask a question, find out whether you really want an answer or you're asking a question superficially. So, ask a question. It doesn't mean that we are preventing you from asking a question. All I have said about it doesn't mean that you mustn't ask me questions. You should. But question with integrity. You understand, sir? With honesty. Not just being clever. Not to try to trip me. If you want to trip me, you've already tripped me. But if you want to find out deeply, with your seriously, with tremendous honesty, then ask. Wait. Sir, just a minute. The gentleman says, I do not know if I have the honesty that you want. I am not your judge. Wait, sir. I said, sir, I am not accusing you of being dishonest. I said, if you listened, ask questions from your heart, from your honesty.
I do think that I'm asking it of my heart, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
Just this, that you say that understanding and realization is not a matter of time, but yet you say that it may be arduous.
Would you mind, sir, slowly and briefly.
Yet you say that it may be arduous, meaning time and effort, which you reject. How can anything be arduous if it does not take time and effort, but only understanding?
We have gentleman says, understanding does not require time. And yet you say it's arduous, which requires time. Understanding, you say, doesn't need effort. Would you please explain this? That's right, sir? Have you ever found out what understanding means? When you say intellectually, I understand, what does that mean? Verbally, you have heard some statement, and you say, yes, I understand the meaning of those words. Not the content of the words, but the meaning of words. You understand the difference? So intellectually, you say, yes, I understand it. It's very clear. That is verbally. That's not understanding. Understanding implies totally, with your mind, intellectually, emotionally, totally you understand. That is, when does this understanding or insight take place? Insight, understanding, when does that take place? In the mind or in the heart? Totally. When does that happen? Please listen carefully. When you are attentive, when you give your mind and heart completely to listen, then you say, yes, I've got it. I see it. Totally. In that attention, there is no observer. Right? In that attention, there is no conclusion. It is a state of attention in which there is no border. There is no center as the me that understands. Now, that state of attention doesn't require time. It is not a question of practice. Either you are attentive now as you are listening or not. If you realize that you are not attentive, if you realize that you are not giving your whole attention, when you realize that you are not giving your whole attention, then you are attentive. You understand what I'm saying? When you are aware that you are inattentive, then you are attentive. Don't try to become attentive. Then you practice attention. Then you join all the schools, all the yogas. Oh, for God's sake. Just be attentive, and when you lapse, know that you are inattentive. And you will see how, without time, there is attention. And that doesn't demand effort.